In the world of Resident Evil, few weapons are as iconic and revered as the Samurai Edge. Crafted by the skilled hands of Joseph Kendo, this custom handgun series became synonymous with the elite members of the Special Tactics and Rescue Service, or S.T.A.R.S. Let's dive deep into the origins and evolution of this legendary firearm. The Samurai Edge was commissioned by S.T.A.R.S in 1998, with the objective of providing a superior alternative to standard issue firearms. To this end, very strict requirements were set in place for the new handgun. As the regular RPD standard issue Beretta 92F, it had to be chambered for the same 9x19mm parabellum cartridge. It had to have a magazine capacity of at least 15 rounds, again the same as the Beretta. It had to have fixed sights and dotted posts. It had to be capable of producing at least a 2-inch grouping within 25 yards with no variation after 3,000 rounds. It had to be capable of double action fire. It had to be ambidextrous. When unloaded, its weight could not exceed 35 ounces, which is about 992 grams. Joseph Kendo, renowned for his gunsmithing prowess, was tasked with designing a weapon that embodied the reliability and precision required of the new handgun. Using the Beretta 92FS as a basis, Kendo crafted a beautifully intricate, outstandingly enduring, remarkably effective, and supremely accurate handgun. One that far exceeded the standard Beretta used as the basis. The Samurai Edge features wraparound grip panels that were enlarged and extended below the magazine foot and that consist of wood with synthetic recoil-absorbing inserts on the side panels and backstrap. This grip design required replacing the hammer spring cap, which would normally have a lanyard ring on the end. A heavier Brigadier slide provides durability by allowing it to withstand higher pressure rounds. Additional improvements include target sights for more precise aiming, an extended slide catch, and a stainless steel barrel. Kendo also decorated each handgun with the S.T.A.R.S logo, placed upon the left side of the slide below the ejection port and on a medallion in the center of each grip panel, effectively and elegantly branding the handgun as S.T.A.R.S issued. This new handgun was dubbed Samurai Edge, a designation inspired by Kendo's Japanese heritage, and the firearm's polished, metallic appearance reminiscent of a katana. Numerous prototypes were tested by S.T.A.R.S members like Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Barry Burton, and Albert Wesker. The final design became the standard model of Samurai Edge. However, each of the 4 characters mentioned before, aka Alpha Team, received personalized models customized even further to tailor to their unique preferences and combat styles. Chris's model was upgraded with a blued finish slide, a stainless steel trigger which was also competition ready since it was adjustable, and a medium weight slide. It also sports a dark blue S.T.A.R.S logo. Jill's model was optimized for quick draws with a smaller slide stop. It also featured a light blue S.T.A.R.S medallion. Barry's model was chambered for 40 Smith & Wesson instead of 9mm. This change requested by Barry himself, who believed that 9mm was too wimpy. Considering that he always has a Magnum on hand, it's clear that Barry prefers to have his weapons pack a punch, something that ironically would change in the future. His Samurai Edge also features a compensator and a longer barrel for improved accuracy and stability, an extended magazine, and a railed frame extension. Given its caliber, it's based on a Beretta 96 instead of a 92 FS. It bears some resemblance to RoboCop's iconic Auto 9 handgun, though his is based on a Beretta 93R and is chambered for 9mm. Wesker's model was personally customized by Wesker himself. It is the most heavily modified model. Its lower frame and takedown lever were replaced with inox aka stainless steel parts, allowing it to sport a cool two-tone finish. Additionally, it features a skeleton hammer, Brigadier sights, and its S.T.A.R.S medallion is black. Moreover, it has an integrated Beretta-style accessory rail on its frame, as well as a beaver tail horn. In the original Resident Evil released in 1996, the standard S.T.A.R.S sidearm is the Beretta 92FS, the conventional one with no custom features. An inox version is also available as an upgrade, featuring higher damage. These two served as prototypes for the samurai edges that S.T.A.R.S would wield in the 2002 remake. Though in the DS port for the original Resident Evil, Deadly Silence, released in 2006, 4 years after the remake, the standard Berettas are replaced with the Samurai Edge, allowing the S.T.A.R.S to wield their classic sidearm from the very beginning of the series. It's worth mentioning that curiously for the live-action segments of the original game, Beretta non-guns were used, which are non-firing replicas that are easily distinguishable from the real thing. The remake of the original game features the Samurai Edge extensively, primarily Jill Valentine's unique model. When playing as Jill, she begins with her Samurai Edge in hand and it remains her sidearm throughout the entire game. Chris Redfield's model appears in the opening cinematic of the game, though Chris famously loses it while running from the Cerberus, so he begins the game with only a knife. Though he soon finds Jill's Samurai Edge, which he uses for the rest of the game, so his Samurai Edge cannot be wielded by the player, something that remained true for a long time. Humorously, in a continuity error, he is seen with his Samurai Edge during cutscenes when playing as Jill. Or maybe he found someone else's Samurai Edge in this version of events. Barry, like Chris, does not wield his Samurai Edge, though unlike Chris, Barry is never seen with his in hand, favoring instead the Silver Serpent, a custom magnum, though his Samurai Edge is at least usable by the player unlike Chris's. If players beat the game on normal or hard in under 5 hours, they can use Barry's Samurai Edge in New Game Plus. Wesker's Samurai Edge is also present in the game, though it is only used by the man himself. The player cannot use it. Wesker uses it extensively in cutscenes. Rebecca Chambers also appears in this game, but she incorrectly uses Jill's model of Samurai Edge instead of the standard one, something RE0 would go on to correct. Speaking of, in Resident Evil 0, a prequel to the first game released in the same year as its remake, Rebecca Chambers carries, as she should, the standard model Samurai Edge, which is her default weapon. This version of the handgun is not customized and adheres to the original S.T.A.R.S specifications, featuring a standard finish and the classic S.T.A.R.S medallion on the grip. Other members of Bravo team such as Captain Enrico Marini also wield this model of Samurai Edge. This also applies when they appear in the remake of the original game, Enrico again being a good example. Interestingly, in the opening cinematic of the game, Bravo team have flashlights mounted on the frame of their handguns. The flashlight is not present during gameplay, even though players take control of Rebecca mere seconds after said opening cinematic. The flashlights are also not present in later cutscenes. What makes this even more baffling is the fact that there is no accessory rail to mount the flashlights to. They could be clamped onto the frame via a mount, but it's difficult to tell. Compounding the confusion is the fact that the remake of the original game begins in the same way, with the characters searching the dark forest with flashlights and weapons drawn. However, Alpha Team members use the S.T.A.R.S technique to hold their handguns and flashlight in unison instead of having the flashlight mounted on their samurai edges like Bravo Team. The handgun parts, which can be equipped to Rebecca or Billy's sidearms, will add a scope for improved critical hit rate probability, and bizarrely a faster fire rate. Adding this upgrade to Rebecca's handgun makes it the only instance of a scoped samurai edge in the series. While the original Resident Evil 2 does not feature the samurai edge in any shape or form, the remake does. Specifically, it features 4 models. The original model is a standard issue samurai edge like the ones given to every member of S.T.A.R.S except the Alpha Team elites. It can be unlocked by completing either of Leon or Claire's scenarios with an S rank. It features infinite reserve ammo, making it ideal for subsequent playthroughs. It does, however, do less damage than Leon and Claire's starting handguns. Curiously, the description for this model mentions that it's one of the guns used during the S.T.A.R.S trial test, nicknamed Kendo Custom Phase 2. This explains why it's referred to as the original model and why it lacks the iconic S.T.A.R.S medallion. Fittingly, Robert Kendo uses this model in his No Time to Mourn scenario, though this one does not have unlimited ammo. So it seems, in this alternate reality at least, that Robert kept one of his brother's masterpieces around for his own personal use. The Chris model of Samurai Edge was exclusive to pre-orders of the game, but was later made available as DLC. It features a faster focus time compared to other pistols without laser sights, which makes it easier and faster to land completely accurate powerful shots while aiming. An homage to the fact that Chris is supposed to be S.T.A.R.'s best sharpshooter. It does the same damage as the original model. This marks the first and so far only time players have been able to use Chris's Samurai Edge, ironically when not playing as him. The Jill model of Samurai Edge was also exclusive to pre-orders of the game and later made available as DLC. Accurately, it features a faster draw time than the other Samurai Edge models, reflecting its optimization for quick draws with its smaller slide stop. It is, however, the weakest of the 4 models. It's worth mentioning that this version of Jill's model is built on a Beretta M9A1 frame, identifiable by the rails present on it. This model of Beretta was introduced in 2006, making it anachronistic to RE2. This is forgivable since the samurai edges in this game are bonus weapons that are not part of the story. Finally, the Albert model of Samurai Edge was exclusive to deluxe editions of the game and later made available as DLC. It boasts the highest damage of all the models. In fact, it is one of the strongest handguns in the game, edging out even Leon's BP-70M, aka Matilda. Only the Lightning Hawk and the SLS-60 hit harder. This higher damage reflects Wesker's modifications which turn the Samurai Edge into a robust handgun. It is worth mentioning that while the Samurai Edge does not appear in the original RE2, in Extreme Battle Mode, Chris is a playable character and his sidearm is a Beretta 92 FS Inox like the one from the first game. The original one from 1996, of course. Again, this handgun served as a prototype for the Samurai Edge, which would make its debut the following year with RE3. Speaking of, the Samurai Edge appears in both versions of Resident Evil 3. Jill Valentine once again wields her Samurai Edge model, which she obviously kept after the mentioned incident and her resignation from RPD. It's once again by her side for another nightmare. Like I alluded to earlier, The original RE3, released in 1999, actually marks the first appearance of the Samurai Edge in the series. From here, it would go on to become an icon of the series, of S.T.A.R.S, and of video game culture. In the original game, it is Jill's main sidearm. In the remake, however, she loses her trusty handgun early on during her scuffle with Nemesis, and she does not get to wield it again, meaning that in the remake timeline, it's lost forever with the destruction of Raccoon City. It is available from the bonus shop though, allowing players to still use it in subsequent playthroughs. Curiously, the remake Samurai Edge is wrong. First, the slide markings are incorrect, since Custom Kendo Shop is engraved on the right side instead of model Samurai Edge Law Enforcement Use Only. The latter is what the original Samurai Edge models had, while the former is what the Samurai Edge models made after the fall of Raccoon City have. Jill's Samurai Edge in RE3 should have the original markings instead. This is a mistake that all the Samurai Edge models in the RE2 remake also have. Though again, there it makes more sense since they are bonus weapons. Second and lastly, Jill's model in the remake has a silver trigger and an extended slide stop akin to Chris's model. Her original unique model did not have these features. While neither version of RE4 features a Samurai Edge, there are two interesting connections between this game and the legendary handgun. Leon's similarly iconic handgun, the Silver Ghost, was also created by Joseph Kendo, though this isn't where the connections end. Leon actually wanted a Samurai Edge of his own when he sought out Kendo, hoping to get a custom sidearm for his upcoming mission. While Leon was also part of RPD, he was not a member of S.T.A.R.S, hence he never got to use a Samurai Edge. Though, fun fact, early builds of both Operation Raccoon City and the Dark Side Chronicles did show Leon wielding a Samurai Edge, likely as a placeholder, making these unofficial uses. In the final version of both games, Leon does not use a Samurai Edge. Now, Kendo refused Leon's request, stating that the Samurai Edge is just a popular firearm tailor-made so that anyone can use it that brings out the most out of the Beretta 92 FS. A true ultimate custom handgun requires no basis. Instead, every part of it should be purpose-built from scratch to eke out their maximum potential. To this end, Kendo opted to build an even more custom-made handgun for Leon. The Silver Ghost's engraved wooden grips and silver barrel and slide do give it similar aesthetics to the Samurai Edge, so Kendo granted some of Leon's wish. Second and lastly, Wesker does not wield his Samurai Edge in this game, even though he does in RE5. Instead, he uses the Silver Ghost in the original RE4 and, in the remake, a perhaps more fitting Beretta 92 FS Bertec Inox. Sure, it's not a custom handgun made by Kendo with similar design elements as the Samurai Edge, but it's a silver Beretta 92 FS, which makes it a close relative. One must wonder why Capcom didn't just have Wesker use his Samurai Edge in RE4. Unsurprisingly, since it is partially a retelling of the first three games in the series, Resident Evil The Umbrella Chronicles features the Samurai Edge. It is used by various characters, namely Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Rebecca Chambers, Albert Wesker, and Richard Aiken. All of them use the standard model in the pre-rendered cutscenes, which is incorrect, since Chris, Jill, and Wesker should have their own unique models. Wesker does use his unique model during gameplay though. It even has a different icon to represent it. For whatever reason, they are all referred to as Samurai Edge 2. Resident Evil 5 features two Samurai Edge models. First and most notably Wesker's model, which returns exactly the same as before, though now it has a laser aiming module in accordance with modern conventions. Wesker uses his samurai edge prominently in cutscenes and in most of his boss fights, though the player is unable to use it in the main game. It is however usable in Mercenaries when playing as Wesker with his S.T.A.R.S uniform. The firing sound is noticeably deeper than that of the normal Beretta 92 FS, reflecting the extra punch of Wesker's more robust handgun. The second and final model featured in this game is Barry's model, wielded by Barry himself in the Mercenaries reunion. This marks the first time Barry is seen using his samurai edge. Like Wesker's model, Barry's returns exactly the same as before, except for an added laser sight, again to keep with the times, as every other weapon in the game has one. Since Mercenaries is a minigame, while it is the first time Barry is seen using his samurai edge, it's not the first canonical story time he uses it. That would come later. The Mercenaries 3D, which is partially based on RE5's Mercenaries mode, also features Wesker and Barry's samurai edges, with the same models and functionality. The spin-off game Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City features Jill Valentine's samurai edge, though strangely it's used by Ada Wong of all people, who has no affiliation to S.T.A.R.S whatsoever. In the decade following the fall of Raccoon City, the BSAA sought to procure samurai edges for its operatives. They tasked Quint Setchem with making them, which he did, building them on the more modern Beretta M9A1 instead of the Beretta 92 FS. This is the generation of samurai edge that the RE2 remake wrongly features. Quint presented one of his new samurai edges to Jill ahead of her raid on the Queen Zenobia in Resident Evil Revelations. It is referred to as Jill's samurai edge in-game, and other than being based on the more modern Beretta, it retains all the same features and design elements as Jill's original samurai edge. Bizarrely and unfortunately though, it is not Jill's main weapon in the game. She instead wields a normal Beretta 92 FS, the standard BSAA sidearm. Her new samurai edge is instead available as a DLC weapon. In Resident Evil Revelations 2, Barry returns as a playable character for the first time outside of Mercenaries, and with him, his samurai edge also returns, though this time it has been modified. This B2 version of his samurai edge is built on a Beretta 92F instead of a Beretta 96, and it is chambered for 9mm instead of 40 Smith & Wesson. It also sports a different compensator, a different rear sight, and different grips. Like before, the change in caliber was requested by Barry himself. When he went to Quint looking for a new samurai edge, Barry opted to go with 9mm instead because it's a much easier cartridge to handle than 40 Smith & Wesson. With his age, he felt like he needed the softer shooting cartridge to perform more effectively. Ironically, the caliber he considered wimpy before is now the more comfortable choice for him, precisely because it is wimpy over the caliber he used to prefer for its power, which makes it tougher to handle. His new samurai edge serves him well in his quest to rescue his daughter, with its unique ability to equip 5 mods, making it a reliable companion. Barry uses it for the entire game. Umbrella Corps, another spin-off game, also features the samurai edge, specifically Albert Wesker's model. Presumably a replica, since near the end of RE5, Wesker lost his, which was the only one in existence at the time. Considering this is a spin-off, it's probably wise not to look too deeply into the where or how. This is likely just a cool throwback weapon. Recognizing the effectiveness of skilled operatives against the BOWs, Albert Wesker spearheaded research to develop a specialized handgun for combat. Building upon his samurai edge, Wesker's new design incorporated unique features: an anti-slip serration on the front slide, a shorter outer barrel, and a normal magazine catch. The weapon also integrated the Albert W system unit, featuring a detachable rail stabilizer, light adapter module, and octagonal silencer. Wesker died before manufacturing a prototype of his ambitious handgun. Blue Umbrella later produced a prototype based on his design, naming it the Albert W Model 01P, P for performance. Recovered during Umbrella's reformation, the handgun was given an all-black finish, replacing S.T.A.R.S engravings with the Umbrella logo. A mass production test followed with the Albert W Model 01R, or Albert 01R, designed to hold only 3 rounds and stylistically reverting to Wesker's original samurai edge aesthetics. The final iteration, the Albert W Model 01 or Albert 01, was developed before Umbrella's attempts to contain the E-Series BOW outbreak in Louisiana, USA. Aesthetically identical to the test model but holding 9 rounds, this handgun was distributed to the BSAA and other Biohazard units for evaluation. Chris Redfield had one during the Dolby incident investigation in Resident Evil 7. He hands it over to Ethan Winter so that he can dispatch the final boss, E001 Evelyn. This is the only time that the Albert 01 has its laser sight active. It also fires special anti-BOW rounds that are devastatingly powerful. Chris presumably retrieves his Albert 01 after rescuing Ethan, and he uses it during his pursuit of Lucas Baker in the Not a Hero DLC, where it can load and fire, presumably, the same special anti-BOW rounds that Ethan got to use. In the main game, the Albert 01, or rather a replica of it as stated in its description, becomes available after beating the game once. It features the same low 3-round capacity of the mass-produced test model. While it cannot fire anti-BOW rounds, it still packs a punch. It's worth mentioning that all 3 iterations of the Albert 01 in this game have different designations. When used by Ethan at the end of the game, it's called Albert 01. The replica is called Albert 01R. The R likely stands for replica. When used by Chris, it's called Samurai Edge AW, which obviously means Albert Wesker, Model 01. This might be its full official name. It's amusing to me that Chris ends up using other people's samurai edges more than his own. The Albert 01 returns in Village with the same name and magazine capacity it had in Not a Hero, though this time it's only available via DLC or to those who bought the deluxe editions of the game. It is purchased from the Duke and it cannot be upgraded, which means it's only truly effective early game. Noticeably, it now has a stainless steel frame, which makes it even more faithful to Wesker's original samurai edge. Curiously, in the model viewer, you can see BSAA soldiers with a holstered handgun that resembles a samurai edge of some kind, though it's impossible to determine which one. Given their connection to Blue Umbrella, it's likely that this mystery handgun is an AW01P, a variant or later iteration of it, or related to it in some way. The Samurai Edge's influence extends beyond the games. It also appears in 3 Resident Evil films. In Resident Evil The Final Chapter, which is the last installment of the original live-action universe and that was released in 2017, Wesker and Claire both use a Beretta 92 FS that is customized in a similar way to the Samurai Edge in the games, featuring a stainless steel barrel and custom wooden synthetic grip panels that have the S.T.A.R.S emblem on them. It does, however, lack several key features of the real deal, like a Brigadier slide and target sights. Also, since Wesker is the primary user, it should be closer to his model. While it's not an accurate depiction, at least they tried. This is the first and only film in the Milla Jovovich Paul W.S. Anderson universe where the Samurai Edge appears. Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, which was released in 2021 and is supposed to be the start of a more faithful live-action RE universe, features several Beretta 92 FS that have been modified to resemble Samurai Edges, with wooden synthetic grips with the S.T.A.R.S emblem and the stainless steel barrels. They even feature different finishes, with Wesker's being two-toned. While not completely faithful to the games, these are nonetheless also admirable attempts to bring one of the most recognizable parts of the series into live action. The final movie to feature the Samurai Edge is Resident Evil Death Island. Released in 2023, this film, the fourth CGI film in the series, features two models. The Alberto 1 without its accessories, which is wielded by Chris, presumably a keepsake from his RE7 days, and Jill's model, wielded by Jill herself until she loses it on Alcatraz Island. According to official promotional material released with the film, this was supposed to be her new M9A1 based Samurai Edge, the one she received for the first Revelations game and that appears in the remake of 2. However, the Samurai Edge in the movie clearly lacks an accessory rail, so it's based on a 92 FS like the originals. The Samurai Edge has garnered a dedicated following in the real world due to its massive presence in the series. A wide selection of licensed replicas and airsoft versions of the iconic handgun have been produced by manufacturers like Tokyo Marui and WE Tech. Its distinctive design and performance have made it a sought-after collectible among fans and firearm aficionados alike that are willing to fork up to $200 and no less than $100 from what I've seen. In case you're wondering about this one, I got this one for exactly $0.00, since I made it myself. Sure, it's not as fancy or faithful as a true replica, but for such a price and the enjoyment I got out of making it, it's more than acceptable. Finally, the Samurai Edge's influence also extends beyond Resident Evil. For example, it appears in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 in the hands of Albert Wesker. Though this is still Resident Evil related, of course. Perhaps my favorite example of how iconic this handgun is this blueprint for the Renetti, aka the Beretta M9A3, in the reboot of Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Clearly, this is very much based on the Samurai Edge, revealing just how legendary it truly is. From its humble beginnings as a custom sidearm for S.T.A.R.S to its enduring legacy in gaming and beyond, the Samurai Edge remains an unparalleled symbol of excellence and craftsmanship. With its distinctive features and rich history, this iconic pistol has left an indelible mark on the Resident Evil series, and it continues to captivate fans worldwide. Its wide number of appearances across multiple Resident Evil games and films highlight the enduring legacy of the Samurai Edge as a legendary weapon associated with the elite S.T.A.R.S team and key characters within the Resident Evil universe. Each customized model reflects the unique preferences and combat styles of its user, contributing to the rich lore and history of both the series and its weapons. While the samurai edge might not actually be, well, a samurai's edge, a katana, it can sure cut down all manner of BOWs like one. Thank you very much for joining me on this comprehensive journey through the remarkable story of the Samurai Edge. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Also, click the links on screen to see more videos like this one. I'll see you over there. Thank you so very much for watching.